Okay, never in my life did I think I was going to need a new interpretation of the term bowel movement. Annihilation, it's the latest from Alex Garland, who you might remember wrote and directed Ex Machina. You look at this film, it definitely shows that it's from the same guy. And the thing I found fascinating, even though this one is adapted from a source novel, it's not an original like Ex Machina is, the thing that I find interesting is how hand in hand they go, particularly when it comes to the theme of how we interpret or interact with our concept of what life is. Where in Ex Machina, it's about the idea of how do we classify life when it comes to the origin. This case, it's about how do we react when everything we know about the natural order is thrown into upheaval when a new extraterrestrial element is thrown in. And what's great is that these themes are carried through in the narrative style of a mystery. And it's kicked off great. It has an incredible hook, starting with Natalie Portman's character Lena, when her husband returns from a long stretch for about a year. And when he returns, he's very aloof, and even worse, he's showing very severe physical symptoms, life-threatening symptoms. And it all derives from this expedition he went on into this place called the Shimmer, which is an unexplained alien phenomena. Lena, who is a biologist, decides to journey into the Shimmer with 4 other women, one played by Jennifer Jason Leigh and another one played by Tessa Thompson. And what's great about the 5 characters who go in, they all have their own modus operandi of going in, and they all have their own sensibilities. And it's fascinating to see the way they react to everything they see in this world. This segues into the thing that makes them react, the production design of the Shimmer and the execution of the world that's within. Now, the triumph of the production design all stems from its amalgamation of everything we know when we go into rural areas, in forest areas, in swampland areas, and then seeing all these little alien elements, sometimes very minor, but sometimes extremely massive. And it's very disconcerting when you walk in and you see things that are oddly familiar, all of a sudden being overtaken by this new alien ecosystem that's forming. And you think to yourself, if I'm noticing these grandiose changes at this level, you are left with a sense of horror and reluctance as to what actual dangerous elements might also be affected in this world. And you see them. In lesser sci-fi films, in a scenario like this, everything would be out to kill the main characters. It'd be After Earth all over again. Anything that does try to kill our main characters or attack them at all are just things that integrated with this particular natural order and our natural order and became something else, something unexplained. There are predators out there, and we have to be careful of those in the same way these do. And the thing that intimidates us is the fact that we don't know what changes occurred to make them different. It's all about the fear of the unknown. And that's the thing that really works in this film, is that it utilizes that particular fear extremely well, and it carries all the way to the very end. Now, since we're on the subject of the way people react to this, I want to get into the acting on this. Natalie Portman is all in on this sucker. She has a very strong grasp of the way a biologist and a soldier would react to this. On one side, she wants an explanation for what happened to someone she dearly loves, but simultaneously she is a biologist, so she wants just natural explanations of what is going on in this world and how it could affect the world at large if it's left unchecked. You want to see this end because it evidently has something of a destructive influence, but you are also seeing very compelling evidence that what's happening here is perfectly natural. It's just a new kind of natural which we're not used to, so you're intrigued. You don't really feel, even though there are some negative effects, you also see that, I don't want to say positive, I just want to say that there are things that need to be understood. But unfortunately, these are two very drastic forces that are colliding and that could have very, very dangerous effects in the long term. And the other good thing about this character being a biologist is that the way she looks at some pretty horrifying imagery, because I'm not going to lie, there are moments in this film that get pretty damn grisly. But the way she looks at these things, the way she reacts to them, it kind of helps soften the blow. There are some moments which I'm still going, ah. But there are other times where you see her intrigued by it. It provokes you to want to look at everything analytically. Now, that being said, the other characters in this piece, because they're so well defined, all react to the shimmer in their own way, and they're all very understandable. You have Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, who's usually an actress I've never been into because she always has kind of a natural melancholic demeanor, but in this case she utilizes that demeanor especially well, particularly when you very gradually find out things about her character. When it gets to her resolution, it just feels right. Tessa Thompson has probably one of my favorite moments in the film when it comes to her character's resolution, because it lends a third option compared to the way we would react. On one side we'd want to destroy it, but on the other side we want to, confront it. She introduces a new element which makes you think about what would happen, maybe say, if this was left unchecked. If there's anything I will say as a con to this film, is that because this film decided to follow a mystery narrative structure, there was one major thing that this film did which frankly I think threatened to hamper that effect. The movie falls into that narrative trope where it starts at the end. Many times it can be done really, really well. I've seen times where it can be done insanely well, but the whole point of making that work is only giving us so much to hook us to want to follow through. You want us to ask questions. Yes, I guess I see that's why you're doing it. But if the way you're doing it isn't an interrogation scene where she's being asked questions of everything that's happening there, she pretty much lays out the fates of some of the characters. And here you're going, well, come on, I want to actually be surprised by some of this. And you do feel that starting the film off like this really kind of killed what kind of unpredictability there could have been. Unfortunately, there's points in the film where it felt interruptive, where all of a sudden this is going and you're really into it, and then, we got to go back to that. It's a very dangerous trope that you toy with, and if you don't do it right, it can actually not only interrupt the flow, but it can also interrupt your investment in what's happening, because all of a sudden everything needs to be explained to you. That is the main element I would say that Annihilation maybe could have done without. This does not deter me from wanting to give this film a Narcotic Casserole rating of... Annihilation is another wonderful, thought-provoking science fiction film by Alex Garland, and I definitely urge you to see it, particularly if you really loved Ex Machina. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that this is just another one of those sci-fi films that tries to sound intelligent by basically just being pretentious? Or do you think that this may be another science fiction masterpiece of this century? Leave it in the comments below. And for more addictive content on Narcotic Casserole, simply like, share, subscribe, click. Thou shalt be served.